Welcome. This is the Yes California CALEXIT Congress. We're a little bit more flexible today. There's some big events coming up. We spend our time focusing on that. Of course, we're going to cover the progress that's been made from Yes California, promoting the brand and getting the name out and raising the profile of the conversation about CALEXIT. We were just having a discussion on the recall election that I thought was pretty good. And I'd like to continue that for a few minutes, and then we'll get into some business. So, Robert Stark, you had a comment about the recall, and then Jason, and then Mike. Robert, what were you saying about the
I do want to mention on a separate note that Biden's approval rating has dipped below 50% for the first time. But on the recall, I was just going to say is that a lot of Democrats could support a candidate even if they oppose the recall, just as an insurance policy against Larry Elder becoming governor. But the problem, unfortunately, there's a huge segment of Democrats who are so hyper-partisan that they won't even acknowledge the recall rather than voting. Like, they'll vote no, but they won't acknowledge it by putting in a candidate. That's what I predict could happen, which would pave the path for Elder to become governor.
Jason, I think you had an insightful articulation there.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and would expound by saying that Newsom and co, their plan of just vote no on the first part and that's it. While they do have a semblance of some rationale in there, I mean, yeah, if 51% of the voters all just vote no, then the thing is no, and the second part is a moot point. However, his approval rating has hit the threshold area where it's now a coin toss. If he continues to lose support, as he has been ever since he attended the French Laundry, and, that's somehow people have forgotten about Plumpgate, the Plumpjack thing, where his winery got $28 million of COVID relief funds. Pretty sure they didn't need 28 million more, right? So if he continues to lose support, he will dip below the threshold line, as Biden has just done. And, the Democratic president in the United States, the return to decency, the guy after Trump, right? Like, you put anyone in after someone that bad, and they're going to look good. And still dipping below 50% shows that this is not an impossible scenario. Democrats can dip below 50%, even with their own constituents. So, Newsom really could get it if only Republicans and, I know California Greens aren't a huge portion of the voting populace. The biggest part of the voting populace is the Dems. And so if they refuse to cast a vote on the second one because their commander-in-chief told them not to vote on something, which is kind of a crime in itself right there. By California Voters' Bill of Rights, you have the right to choose whether or not to vote, and you have the right to not be told how to vote. So, he's pretty flagrantly going against the California Voters' Bill of Rights there, which is law. That's law that he's breaking. So, again, if 75% of California refuses to cast a vote in part 2, then, we really could see the 25% of California, nearly, that's Republican, You know, they turn out to vote on pretty much everything. They really do exercise their right to vote quite frequently, quite regularly, quite consistently. Unlike the Democrats. So we could pretty much assume that they're all going to turn out and check a box for someone in the Republican Party. So if Newsom gets fired, and if everyone follows his plan, we will end up with, you know, Larry Elder, Kevin Kiley, or, you know, someone else, right? That's one of the reasons why I was so keen on getting the green message out there, because a lot of California can align with green. I mean, I've been green since 18, and there are a couple of things that I slightly disagree on, but for the most part, they're pretty in tune with, you know, at least what I think California could and should be. And seeing two different green candidates, you know, candidate Collins and candidate Kapelovitz, I'm like, you know, let's at least get those boxes checked, right? Like, get more votes for someone who's potentially, you know, at least decent, just in case Newsom gets fired.
Yeah. Mike, any other comments on the recall election from anybody or the public? Yes, California is not endorsing the recall. We are not opposing the recall. We are remaining very neutral about it. Do what you want. I will say that there is talk about the recall being unconstitutional, and that's total and complete trash and garbage. And I invite anybody to debate me at any minute about this. This is a complete garbage platform. You don't have to like this recall election. I'm sorry?
Could I interrupt and save you having to debate anyone on it? Just real quickly.
Sure. Yes.
The process of recalling our officials is actually part of our state's constitution. Therefore, it is 100% constitutional. It could not be unconstitutional because it is a part of our Constitution. Mic dropped and lit on fire.
Yeah. Also, it's been around for over 100 years. Earl Warren was a Supreme Court justice, one of the most famous Supreme Court justices. He was also here in California for a while, and he did absolutely nothing to reform the recall election thing. So if it's unconstitutional, I question why a Supreme Court justice would have presided over it for years, then sat on the Supreme Court and said nothing. Secondly, we already had the recall election once in 2003. It did go through. No one said anything. So does that mean we retroactively put Gray Davis back into office and undo everything Arnold Schwarzenegger did because it's unconstitutional? And explain the Earl Warren question. So, by the way, I don't see either of those being brought up when they're talking about the unconstitutionality of this. And I'm kind of a little bit disgusted that in California, we're not really recognizing that this law was designed for us to hold people in power to account, and that's exactly what's happening. So don't like the recall. Vote for Newsom. But the fact is that in California, we have above average democracy. The Economist said that we may be the most democratic place in America. And what they were talking about was that we have these initiatives that allow the public to vote on any law that they want, change any law that they want, or recall a governor. That's called democracy, the will of the people. Representative democracy is where you elect representatives and then they run things for you. We have what's called a lot of direct democracy, which is the closest to the way that democracy operated during the time of the ancient Greeks. I don't think it's a bad thing for us to have really, really high levels of democracy and input from the public. And I question everybody who would look down on that. let's go to some comments. Get her done. Non-servitism, FedExit, go state citizen. Thanks, Linda McFadden. Private chat. Oh, yeah. Here you go. Mike has a comment. I'll post this up here. Something happens to Feinstein and Elder wins. Say goodbye to another Senate seat. The party of the big lie will halt everything until the next election. So the theory is that if a Republican gets in under the recall and Dianne Feinstein cannot hold on to her Senate seat, then she'll be replaced by that governor. That governor then could select a Republican to finish out her term, and that would change the balance of the Senate. Because, as we've said routinely here in California, in CalExit, the majority of America is a conservative country that does not share our values. And that's why the Senate is one vote away from retroceding into that. This is proof of why we need to CalExit. Your ability to hold on to the rights that you hold as dear is one old lady away from being taken away from you. And didn't we do this a year and a half ago with someone called Bader Ginsburg? How stable is it to believe in a system that's constantly held on to one octogenarian just barely holding on? That's not stable at all. We should be paying attention to the sign. Thank you for the thumbs up. I mean, yeah, exactly. You're going, well, made it this time. Okay, we got one person in their 80s, and if they could just hold on, everything's going to be okay. Made it again. Okay, guys, we got one more person in their 90s, and if they could just hold on, everything's going to be okay. This is dumb. You are dancing around a sinking ship. Going, well, I plugged the hole for the next hour. Why is there a hole anyways? Why do you have to plug a hole? How about having a ship that doesn't have holes? So.
And if the ship that you're on is in the middle of the ocean and it has holes and it doesn't have any lifeboats, you might want to start peeling up some thinking and fashioning a makeshift raft, like ASAP.
Yeah. Any other comments on the recall election? Or we'll get into some of the projects we're working on now. Any other comments? Anybody, you in the public can post comments. Please post comments if you're watching. Okay, we got some comments coming in. Cut the bullshit. Truckers in Australia and France are halting. I don't know what that has to do with what's going on here in California, Carla PH, but okay.
Australia has a lot of Delta has kind of taken over in Australia, in Sydney at least, and kind of around it, and that's one of the main population hubs as well as hubs for commerce. It's pretty comparable to like Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, DC, you know, major ports. And people have been protesting, and some protesting seem to turn violent, like riot type protests. They're going through mask mandates and lockdowns and stuff again, right? Which is making people unhappy. It's kind of a preview of what I've been saying, what I've been predicting. We here in California, at least, are going to be going through again. You know, why would Newsom push to all of a sudden push to do the recall ASAP? Because the writing was on the wall that mask mandate, vaccination mandate, and quarantine mandate are coming because Delta is running rampant. And then no one's talking about the Lambda variant that's killed 600,000 people so far in Brazil or something like that. 600,000 to 800,000 deaths in just like a month. South America is, yeah.
Carla PH and Aurea Lara, is that what you meant? That, hey, watch out for Australia and France, and that's going to come here. And that's why we brought that up during the recall debate discussion, because the recall needs to happen quickly because Newsom's going to do these things. I mean, that makes sense to me. I just didn't see the immediate connection. That makes sense. Okay. Well, we are not backing the recall. We are not opposing the recall. We are simply pointing out facts. It is a legal process. It's been in the Constitution. It's completely legal. And it is not a coup. And everybody backing it is not a white supremacist. We said that when Newsom was going around saying everybody's a white supremacist who backs this. We said that was garbage. And then it turned out 48% of California backed it. 25% of California voted for Trump. So we doubled in Trump support? Or the whole thing that it's all Trump supporters was total garbage? Which one? But Trump got twice as more popular here in California after he lost an election? Or they lied about the people who supported the recall? Again, not taking a side on the recall, just we point out facts. Let's go to comments. Yes, on my end, that is what Aurea Lara said. And Carla PH, please keep making those comments. This is what they were talking about. Look out, Australia and France are shutting down again, and that will be coming here. And that's why Newsom wants to have the recall election, because he's going to implement these measures right after it's done. And that's why it needs to happen quickly.
Might I also point out that, all of the world's commerce has been very heavily affected during the worldwide pandemic, and food shortages in places that already were dealing with food shortages. It's at levels of travesty. It's beyond tragic. It's to the point where someone should have done something. And some places in the world are trying, do what you can, right? But Newsom just did this whole agriculture thing I know we need to save water, but less food production for the next 10 years or so, it's probably not the best thing for the world. Also, California makes the majority of its money through tech and agriculture. So cutting half, it's like just cut one of your own legs off, right? Rather than say hold Nestle accountable, and sure, we can't get that water back, but we can at least prevent them from taking any more, and save some groundwater at least over the next 10 years that way. But instead, the response was, less water for farms. And I always think of global constant, and I see California being one of the major food producers of the world. It's only going to do bad by us producing less, especially while the world is continuing to suffer from pandemic and the global trade and overall agricultural exchange of the world has really gone down. There has been a massive decline, and it doesn't really seem like it's going to take back up anytime soon.
Okay, all right. We're going to go right into business now. So we are working with political candidates. Jackie McGowan, a Democrat, Heather Collins, a Green member, Dan Kapelovitz, a Green, Leo Zaki, Republican, Veronica Fembres, a Green, and Enrique Sanchez. Our plan under Director Fuji Shiora is to create an apolitical party where you agree to self-determination. We're not using the term sovereign choice, although that's basically the idea. And roughly what that means is things would be better with more power here in California. So it's going to be an apolitical party that you can join from any party. So you're like, I'm a Republican and I believe in these 16 issues, and I'm a Democrat and I believe in these 20 issues, and I'm a Green and I agree in these issues, and they have widely different opinions on those issues. Fine. We're not taking a stance on any of that. We're saying, agree to your issues over here, you agree to your issues over here. We're going to have one thing in the middle that doesn't contradict all your Republican talking points, all your Green Party talking points, all your Democratic Party talking points, all your Solidarity Party talking points. It's a neutral principle in the center of them that anybody can attach themselves to from any party, and it doesn't make it where they can't go. And basically, that's why we're calling it an apolitical party. We're not going to make it where you have to take these stances that will put you in trouble with your own political party. Basically, you agree to one principle, which is what we call sovereign choice. Well, we're not using that term. It's self-determination. We're still working on the terminology. But the idea that all the way up to full-blown secession, although you do not have to support that having decisions made more here in California is better. So that could mean, like we did with Obama, ignore federal drug law, or with Bush, ignore stem cell law, or with Trump, ignore his climate change law, or with Trump and Biden, ignore their directions on coronavirus. It could also mean talking about studying how California could become more independent, as Dan Walters, a well-respected reporter, and Steve Lopez have said. Or it could mean pursuing the idea that California goes back to a territory status like Puerto Rico, as Director Shiora is talking about. Or it could mean, as we've always talked about here for the last couple of years, full-blown secession. Or it could mean some sort of Scottish-style devolution. So you would agree that it's okay for Californians to have a discussion about self-determination and these range of options, as long as it's peaceful and legal. And you would agree that it's okay for us to pursue more power here in California. So I noticed the second I started talking about that, we lost half of our views, but that's what we're doing. We think it's a good idea because we can prepare candidates now and help them out with publicity. A lot of smart people who are good at public policy and marketing. Well, they're not good at marketing. They're good at policy. They're very smart. Their heart's in the right place. They're horrible at branding. And so we've been taking the lessons we've learned over the last 6 to 8 years in marketing because we learned everything through hard work. And we are helping these people to promote their campaigns. The plan is to use these people as resumes so that after the recall election, we will then position ourselves to help all candidates running for 2022 elections. Since there will be many of them, since that's a general election, we'll be able to help multiple candidates. So it's help a few people now, build up a resume, reference list, then after recall, say that we're in the business of helping anybody who agrees to our one self-determination principle and who's going into the 2022 elections. As we help those people, that will create a slate of candidates across parties, and that will be how we'll build a political party, by reaching out to people across parties and backing particular candidates going into 2022. That gives us a year to make this marketing plan. Additionally, it stages us so that when Republicans win the midterm elections, which we are predicting here at Yes California, CalExit will explode again. People are going to lose it when the Republicans win the Senate and the House back in the midterm elections. They will feel that America is a not good place, that will fall backwards on all of their values, just as they did when Kavanaugh was appointed and ACB to the Supreme Court, both of those people, and the election of Trump in 2016, and the fact that Trump almost won in 2020. So we call CalExit the gold reserve. Whenever America fails, Californians come running to this idea. We are predicting midterms to fail. They'll go to the Republicans. Californians will freak out. They'll come to CalExit. And right as they do, Yes California is positioning the entire movement to do something we've never been able to do ever before. Even in 2016, that's have actual real-life candidates say they're open to the idea of independence or talking about it. So when we were big in 2016, 2017, 2018, we were constantly asked, what political parties or candidates are you working with? Who's espousing your message? And we could say no one. We're going to make it so that the next time that California flips out and loses it, we have multiple people from multiple parties who are saying, yeah, I know those guys at Yes, they're cool. And the men and women there, and non-binary people at Yes. And they do a good job, and I am willing to talk about sovereignty. So build up candidates for recall, reach out to even more candidates going into 2022, build the political party as we're going into 2022 midterm elections. And by the time the midterms happen and the Republicans take back everything and Californians cry in the streets, we will have a political party with multiple candidates attached who can now help us espouse the message. And that's something we didn't have in 2016. That's the big idea. Thoughts, feelings? No extra thumbs up? I'm pretty proud of this place. I've worked on this for a while.
Yeah, no, I agree with that all. I think you summed it up perfectly.
And, you know, this was Fuji Shora. A lot of this was Fuji working this out. Any comments on that at all? Okay. Oh, we got one. Okay. I don't think Governor Dippity Doo will get recalled, but only by the skin of his teeth. He's strong moderate. DJ Stevenson, you need to get some of those some of that jewelry taken out of your face. So, just for medical reasons. Love you, brother. That's a joke. I know that's a picture of him. Deputy will get by the skin of his teeth. Yeah, we do. And as we were talking about, the Democratic Party has put California in a very risky position by publicly telling everybody, don't even vote in the recall, turn in your ballot, and don't vote on question 2. That absolutely leaves it up for a Republican to win and take over if Newsom does not win. And they're still doing this.
Do you have the source of that?
Yeah, it's all over. Just type in, I'll see if I can find it, but type in Democratic parties telling people not to vote on question 2. The LA Times slammed them for that. So this is widely acknowledged. Let me see if I can find something. But they have left it up to that, and they've done that after the poll came out showing 48% were for the recall. So even after they showed this thing is damn near tied, they still stuck with the don't say anything about question 2. That is historically reckless, politically speaking, and endangers all of us. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Democrat Party.
Could I read off the voters' Bill of Rights? I have it right in front of me right here.
As long as it's not very long, yes.
It's 10 points.
As long as it's not very long, yes.
All right. You have the following rights. The right to vote if you are a registered voter. You are eligible to vote if you are a U.S. citizen living in California, at least 18 years old, registered where you currently live, not in prison for a felony. The right to vote if you are a registered voter, even if your name is not on the list. You will vote using a provisional ballot. Your vote will be counted if elections officials determine that you are eligible to vote. The right to vote if you are still in line when the polls close. The right to cast a secret ballot without anyone bothering you or telling you how to vote. The right to get a new ballot if you have made a mistake, if you have not already cast your ballot. You can ask an elections official at a polling place for a new ballot, or exchange your vote by mail ballot for a new one at an elections office or at your polling place, or vote using a provisional ballot if you do not have your original vote by mail ballot. The right to get help casting your ballot from anyone you choose, except from your employer or union representative. the right to drop off your completed vote-by-mail ballot at any polling place in California, the right to get election materials in a language other than English if enough people in your voting precinct speak that language,
Art Gilbert.
the right to ask questions to election officials about election procedures and watch election process. If the person you ask cannot answer your questions, they must send you to the right person for an answer. If you are disruptive, they can stop answering you. The right to report any illegal or fraudulent election activity to an elections official or the Secretary of State's office on the web at www.sos.ca.gov, by phone at 800-345-VOTE 8683, or by mail at elections@sos.ca.gov. If you believe you have been denied any of these rights, call the Secretary of State's confidential toll-free voter hotline at 800-345-8683. Thank you.
That was awesome. Just to back up what here it is. These are the rights. We'll paste that up. Thank you, Jason. That was awesome. Private chat. Everybody gets in private chat. Banners. Comments.
The voter information pamphlet does.
Jason? Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
It faded out. You said the voter information, and then it cut.
Oh, sorry. The pamphlet does go into the fact that you can vote no to recalling Newsom and still cast a vote in the second part, and that it does not change your initial no vote to a yes. It does not have any bearing on it. So it like the thing that the state sent in for the election actually disproves what the governor has been saying.
Okay. Yeah. So we got a few minutes. Let's get on to the next stuff. Awesome points, everybody. Thank you all. We are going to have a super mega awesome event, August 29th in Lancaster. We have 1/4 of all of the recall candidates who have committed to present their plans on the unhoused directly to the unhoused. No one's doing this. Newsom has not met with lots of homeless people to present his plan to them. Faulkner, Jenner, Cox, Kiley, and Paffrath, the people being mentioned in the news, have never presented their plans on homelessness to a bunch of homeless people. Yes, California is going to do something that none of the top candidates and even the sitting leader of the world's 5th largest economy could somehow manage to pull off. We're going to have people actually present their plans to the humans that it will affect. I know, radical and crazy. So we are going to have a meeting with 1/4 of the candidates who will be going to Lancaster, California. That's Lancaster, California. This Sunday, August 29th, that's August 29th in Lancaster at 1 p.m. August 29th, Lancaster, 1 p.m. August 29th, Lancaster at 1 p.m. 10 candidates, going to meet the homeless and present their plans on the homeless directly to them, something that no one's been able to do in California who's an elected official or wanting to be an elected official, although homelessness is one of the top issues. You can explain how that's been totally dropped. Let's take a look at the flyer. Can everyone see this flyer?
Yeah.
Okay. Unhoused interaction meeting. That was Quinn Reynolds' idea. She's the one helping us. It will be at the 43627 North 15th Street, West Lancaster, August 29th, 1 p.m. The idea is to have unhoused families and individuals will speak directly with candidates running for governor, addressing scarce resources and their proposed resolutions to homelessness. Candidates who will be appearing: Leo Zaki, Heather Collins, Patrick Kilpatrick, the actor, Jackie McGowan, Joe Simone, Brandon Ross, David Hilbert, John Drake, Kevin Call, Jeremiah Marciniak, and maybe Dan Kapelovitz, and maybe, just maybe, Kevin Pathrath. Here is Quinn Reynolds. She Fuji founder. I didn't. Never met this woman before. Fuji is a monster at meeting people and getting out there. And he somehow made contact with her. And they put together this whole plan to have we were going to have Quinn come and give the questions at the next women's debate and have it focused on homelessness. And so Fuji made connections with La Quinta, and she was going to come and ask the questions at the next women's recall debate. And then she and Fuji, mostly she, said, what about having an event where the candidates physically come out to the homeless area and meet the homeless? And that just spiraled. I didn't think we were going to get more than a few candidates. We got a fourth. The moment we had two, it just exploded into action. So this is Quinn. She's a tax preparer. She advises on business. She worked at the Antelope Valley College for multiple years. She's very well educated, highly well spoken, understands politics, has been around the block for a while, and she is currently unhoused herself. And she routinely talked about how people have stereotypes of the unhoused. They think that they're all dumb or crack-ridden. And she goes, some of us are really smart and we fell on hard times and it's not easy to get back up. And I said, we already have members who made sure we knew that reality. And so because we've had members who have been educating us and making us aware of that, we really hit it off with Quinn. And so she will be hosting or helping us host this event, 43627 North 15th Street, West Lancaster. That's this Sunday, 1 week from today. Fuji has already got a few candidates to agree to go Saturday night and the night before. So we will be possibly asking some candidates to go the night before and hang out. And we expect a really good event. Let me do something real quick here. Relating to this, we got, 1 second here, let me find this. Kevin Pathrath, I ran into him literally yesterday. And
we're going into Island Talks. We're also going to have a Yes California event August 29th at 1 o'clock in Lancaster with 200 homeless people. Would you be?
let's just see that.
We're also going to have a Yes California event August 29th at 1 o'clock in Lancaster with 200 homeless people. Would you be willing to go and present your plan on homeless to actual homeless people?
I would definitely be willing to present like homeless folks. I've done that before. We did that at Echo Park. When is the problem? It's at 27th. Okay. When do you like to get?
Okay. All right.
Yeah. let's see what we got going on.
Well, and also because,
I don't know what everything is.
yeah, it's just, last time you told me if I got OC, you'd be in the debate.
Yeah.
And then the night before you canceled and said due to unforeseen circumstances.
We, sorry about that.
Yeah.
We, it's so sad to see OC dropped out now, too.
Due to heart attack. Yeah, yeah, the stress.
I've been talking to Randy and Ron.
I don't know them. I just talked to Doug directly. He's a good man. He's really tried to help some people. It's very sad when you get a certain age and then the heart takes you out of the game.
It's not fair. It really is not fair. Yeah, I've also challenged Oliver. We gotta get Alger on the debate. I don't know why he's hiding.
He said he won't do debates.
It's not.
Newsom said he won't do debates.
They're babies. They should stand in front of California and present their babies. So, especially against the other candidates. It's ridiculous.
August 29th, Lancaster, 1 o'clock. I already emailed you. If you can't make it, do we have your permission to present your homeless plan to the homeless people? Because we have 10 other candidates who are going.
Is that a Sunday? And then what time?
Sunday, it's a week from tomorrow in Lancaster at 1 p.m. We have 1/4 of all the candidates going. This will be their first time. I can pull up the list.
Yeah.
Here.
We're the calendar guy.
Leo Zaki, Heather Collins, Patrick Kilpatrick, Jackie McGowan, Joe Simon, Brandon Ross, David Hilbert, John Drake, Kevin Call, Jeremiah Marciniak, and Dan Kapelovitz, meeting in Lancaster with Quinn Reynolds, who's a unhoused advocate. Lancaster has one of the highest unhoused populations there.
Almost expressing a disaster. But yeah, I would say, let's get back to you on that. I don't know if in the middle of the day we can promise to be there. People store their things.
Your governor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here, I mean,
Just want to show you something real quick.
folks, unfortunately, we're in such despair.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got
All
it.
right.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. No problem. That's Yes California, trying to give answers to the public where the mainstream media won't. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Good luck to you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Marcus.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yes, California. Cheers.
Look, it's an interesting argument. It's different from my plan, segregate, segregate the state. But hey, you know my plan. I'm gonna be transparent about it.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
All right. Thank you.
So that just happened. I was at Starbucks at Woodward Park. Y'all know me. I have a few things that I do, and I do a lot. Here's the video of Mr. Pathrath. Watch, I'm not going to go into it, but watch the video where I ask him about his homeless plan. He completely evades the questions. I was like, you're going to have the military round people up? And he's like, no, nothing like that at all. And I go, so you're not using any agency at all that has any sort of military or gun capability in any capacity to do it? Well, hold on, I didn't say that. I said they're going to make facilities for them and protect them while they're there. And I go, well, that's a camp. And then he diverted the issue. And I go, that sounds like a military camp where you're going to put people in concentration, right? Get them off the streets, pull them into an area, which is a camp surrounded by the military. That's called encampment and concentration. No, I'm not hearing that. So check out the video. And he's like, no, they'll provide facilities. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, and if somebody, if you're homeless during the day, you can walk on the streets or whatever. But if you're asleep, it's illegal for you to sleep on the sidewalk and something will happen. And I go, so they'll be arrested. And he goes, no, nobody's going to be arrested. And I go, but you just said it's illegal. So when someone does something illegal, they get arrested, right? That's what happens. He goes, no. The paramedics will show up and suggest to this homeless person that they should come with them and go to this camp and live in a concentrated condition. And I go, and what if the homeless person's cracked out of their gourd and says, I ain't going, make me? And he goes, well, we think that they'll want to go, and we'll work with homeless leaders to encourage this condition. And I kept coming back to, and what if they say no? How are you physically going to get them off of the street and into that camp? And what if they're at the camp and say, I don't want to be here, and walk right outside the front door and fall asleep right in front of the camp, which is illegal? How are you going to force them back into that? And he will not answer that question. So you can watch the video. Don't take my word for it. But he was mad. I think he was pretty mad because I didn't plan on this. I was just there getting ready for the debates. He walked in, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to ask him some questions. I'm going to make sure that he knows about the homeless debate, and that so we have him on the hook, knowing that the debate's happening. I don't think he's going to show. I could be wrong. I would be happy to be wrong. I don't think he's going to show, because I watched his video where he's saying, oh, I presented my plan to the homeless. No, he did not. He presented his plan to 20 people in Echo Park, 2 or 3 of whom were homeless. And when things got rough, he had his assistants push them back. So he's like, I met homeless. Yeah, you met 2 or 3 out of a group of 25. We're talking about 100 to 200 exclusively homeless people. You've done nothing even remotely close to that. So I have a pretty good nose for sophistry and verbose evasion. And I was like, okay, well, I hope you come on out, because you have the most extreme plan for the homeless. And I think it would be appropriate in an election for you to explain your plan to the homeless. Do they like your plan? Will they do it? Or do they feel that you're turning them into maybe Iraqis during the American occupation? Have you asked? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm transparent. I met everybody. Okay. I found that video. I had Jason ferret it and find it, and it was like 2 people out of 30. So hopefully he goes. If he doesn't, we are going to mention his plan to the homeless and get their reactions live on video, and then we're going to post all of that up. And I can tell you the 10 other candidates who go, if Paffrath doesn't show, will excoriate him. So we just got a gigantic media boost for a spectacular event. Please help us get organized. I know it's coming together very quickly. We have the politicians going. Quinn has notified the homeless. We've got the flyer out. Fuji has set up a hotel for the candidates the night before, and they're really just going to meet the homeless and then do Q&A. We have to get 2 tents and 2 tables out there for the candidates, and we need to get food and toiletries out there for the homeless. We are still working on those issues. If you care about the homeless, if you would like to be involved, please reach out to me or Jason, and we could use the help. Let's go to comments. Okay. Any questions, comments on that? Or you, the public, if you have comments and you'd like to make a note. Okay. Last piece of business, we have a recall candidates debate today at 3 o'clock. We weren't going to do this, but there was a lot of candidates who couldn't make it to the last one, and so there's still a lot of interest. As we predicted, yes, California, there's a media blackout of all the candidates. Now, when we said that early on, people were like, yeah, I don't know if you're just making this up. Now, a lot of candidates who would never return an email are suddenly going, can I go to your debate, please? Because they're totally excluded and they realize no one's coming and we're the only game in town. That's how we grew from 25 to about 30% now. It's because we're the only game in town. Nobody else is doing it. We're it. And all the candidates are realizing there's a complete media blackout on everybody except for the top 4 Republicans. Paffrath and Kylie have broken through, and good for them. They did it all on their own. They really did. They deserve all the attention they get. They broke through. But out of those 2 out of 47 people, nobody else really broke through. The media said, here's your top 4 Republicans, and then here's Newsom, and that's it. And then 2 guys broke through. So that leaves about 37 people who have nothing and are going nowhere and no options and feel completely neglected and dejected. And we've reached out to them and have had wild success because we're doing something that other people are supposed to be doing. And our reputation's grown. And as you've seen, we're not pushing CalExit at all. But Paffrath, he talked about it. So that's a Yes California goal, is to get people talking about secession. It's working. Even though we're not promoting it, they're going, oh, there are secessionists out there. There are people discussing that. They are talking about the idea. That was our goal. Any comments or questions? And we'll go to the last section.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I think, actions speak louder than words, and our actions have maintained consistency with our wording. We have proven ourselves. These debates are very, very clearly all about California and nothing else.
And we're progressive.
We're secessionists, right? Like, yeah.
And even though we have a bunch of...
We go hard on being as professional as possible.
Yeah, and even though we have some Republicans and even some people who voted for Trump, which I did not and I don't get, but, I love them, we're progressive. We had a meeting with the Pomo Indigenous on bringing the elk back to them. And then we worked with an African-American woman to do the largest homeless conference anywhere in California. That's hardcore California values on display. And I would question any other organization that's promoting CalExit. Are they doing stuff like that? Or are they just virtue signaling how liberal they are? I get called a Republican all the time, and I don't mind because I was an ex-Republican. But I think that, like Jason said, actions speak louder than words. Who's meeting with the Indigenous? Who's meeting with African Americans? Who's backing Latino candidates? Who's making sure the candidates meet the homeless? It ain't the mainstream media. It's not the Democratic Party. It damn well ain't the Republican Party. And it ain't any other rival CalExit group. It's only one place. Don't take my word for it. Check it out. We're progressive. Don't let the suit and the well-informed economics discussions and pursuit of low taxes and regulations fool you. We love California values. We love California. We live it. Okay. Last thing, we have a recall candidates debate at 3. We're going to get some of the last candidates in. This is where the questions are going to come from. And I wanted to see if anybody had any input.
It'd be damn nice if our homegrown teams started focusing on what's right. Everybody outside the state is bitching about the state.
Governor, California has the nation's highest housing costs, highest gasoline prices, and highest utilities. Wage growth has been spectacular in the Silicon Valley, but not so much for areas along the coast and inland areas. In a very real sense, the California dream is realizing the laws to keep it rising down day after day. How do you make the case that you, as governor, can deliver the California dream to all Californians?
Well, let's talk about what we also are number one in. And guys, forgive me, I know I'm a little pointed today, but I've been taking a lot from you folks.
So, not to pick on anybody, you're governor of the world's 5th largest economy and 40 million people. And you lost your stuff live on TV. Not a good look. I mean, you can still back Newsom and say, hey, it's not fair, it's treated unfair, but as a head of a nation, basically, you should not come unglued like that. It's just not good. We're going to ask the questions for the recall candidates based upon that, and we're going to have them say, do you agree with the governor about, he said this, is that true? He said it's this way, is that true? Now, we are going to have Green Party candidates and Dems and Republicans, so some people are going to go, he's great and awesome. Some people are going to go, no. But we think it's fair to hold politicians to account. And we also think it's a little bit fair that when a sitting elected official starts criticizing his own population to ask questions of that person, it is always throughout history a bad sign when the top leader starts blanket blaming mass swaths of their own people. Last seen was Hitler in the bunker of World War II. Not a good look. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, scapegoatism. There have been nations in Africa over the last 100 years that have gone into civil wars after, such things start occurring in their government. Top official starts blaming an entire group of people, maybe a massacre to go down. Next thing you know, there's a civil war. The whole country is plunged into chaos. People dying left and right. Brutal scene. Germany, World War II, pre-World War II. The famous failed Austrian painter comes to town, and he had a lot of fire when he spoke, and he was good at speaking, and he told people what they wanted to hear. They were down and out. He told them, I will get us not down and out. And they believed him. Hindsight's 2020. We know, that was the wrong call. But he as well did the whole scapegoatism. Oh, it's all these people's fault. Let's go make things right by going after them. We're going to take all their stuff because it's really ours. And we're going to take away their citizenship. They are no longer part of us, right? Now that they have no rights, guess what we can do? Force them into certain places and, then transport them from these communities that we refuse to do anything for and, just keep them locked into. And then, one day we'll just, solve the problem of overcrowding by sending them off to a different kind of a concentrated zone.
Yeah, yes, I agree with the analogy to an extent. It's not going to go there, but it's bad. It's a bad sign. I would point out that the governor here is criticizing the news for not covering the good news rather than covering why this recall happened, which is their job. I would also point out the governor said everybody who backs the recall is a Trump supporter and a white supremacist, and it turned out to be 48% of Californians. You said half of California is white supremacy? Not cool, man. So we're there now. You can like Newsom, but that is insulting. Especially to, like my family is Latino. They hated Trump. They're not white supremacists. They backed the recall. I didn't, but they did. And then they're called white supremacists. A white man calls Latino people white supremacists and says they love Trump when they literally cried when Trump was running for office. Okay. All right. Year 2021 in California. Yes, that happens. Okay, any other comments before we wrap up the show? I'm going to go out in about 2 minutes. Robert, you got anything, brother?
I see Devil War posted a comment.
Yeah, but I don't understand. Are you guys fix the law?
Yeah, are we going to try to fix the laws here that we know to be broken, inept, or maybe not whole? And I would say, as a pretty quick answer to that, we ourselves as a nonprofit organization can only do so much. We can raise awareness on these issues. We can work with others to try to, get our elected officials to fix things. But ultimately, the only way that we, as as Californians, not just our organizations, the only way we all in California will see a change to all of the brokenness is if we are independent, because then we can make all of our own choices as Californians, and no one else can say or do anything to impede that process of progressive change.
Yeah, well said. Okay. Yeah, Devil War says you're right, Jason. All right. Okay, guys, we gotta get ready for debate. Thank you all for being here. Please help us with the homeless event in August 29th, this Sunday.